Welcome to Hyderabad, home of the Chutneys. If you want to see some incredibly high-quality vegetarian food in South India, then you've come to the right place. So I was exploring and adoring the mean streets of downtown Hyderabad when I started feeling a tad hungry. Only problem was, recently I've been eating too many innocent animals. So in order to atone for my sins, I figured I should eat myself large quantities of innocent plants instead. So I meandered on over to a famous Hyderabad vegetarian establishment called the Chutneys. Now at first I didn't know why they called this place Chutneys, but as soon as I waltzed on into there, I started figuring it out. I think that maybe, just maybe, they call this place Chutneys because there's a whole lot of chutneys available. But I don't know, it's just a hunch. Then again, maybe they have a lot of chutneys in this place because the name of the restaurant is Chutneys. It's one of those chicken or egg kind of deals. But hey, I'm getting a tad off topic over here. The point of the matter is this place was well stocked in the chutney department, and I ordered myself some mighty fine food to complement those chutneys. Just what did I order, you ask? I got myself a little Upma, which is one of my favorite South Indian foods. I also got one of my favorite vegetarian North Indian foods called Paneer Masala. Granted, it's not really a chutney-friendly food, but as soon as I saw it on the menu, I just knew I needed it in my belly. And I also got myself some Paratha and Kulcha breads to go with that Paneer Masala. Can you actually blame me? So first on deck, I figured I should try out the Upma. This right here is a typical South Indian breakfast food, and I love it to bits. It's got fried curry leaves, spices, and nuts jammed into some steamed semolina action. Now, even though I was just dying to try out those chutneys, I figured I should have my first bite sans chutney. I wanted to see how that Upma tasted as is. And whoa, hold the phone. What in the wide world of Telangana is going on around here? That Upma was tasting nice. That Upma was tasting real nice. It was tasting soft, succulent, and soul-soothing, and I figured right about now I should try it out with a little bit of chutney. So I went for this orange chutney first, and although I didn't know what kind of chutney this was, I just had a good feeling about it. So I bit down on it and whoa, baby, it had sort of a subtle, sweet, and starchy flavor going on. I think it might have been a pumpkin chutney, but I don't know exactly. All I know is I liked it a lot. What other kind of chutneys we got around here? This one's looking pretty white. And truth be told, I've never actually seen a chutney that white before, so I figured I should take myself a small taste first. And wow, just wow, that minuscule dab of chutney tasted different from any other I've ever had. I think it was some sweet coconut action, and it went real well with that Upma. I mean, I've had many a coconut chutney before, but they're typically not sweet. I guess you could say that that delectable bite broadened my chutney horizons. In some small way, it helped me to reevaluate the very definition of a chutney. And for that, I am forever grateful. But enough with all that chutney chatter, now it's time for some more chutney. I put a new chutney on my banana leaf and started furiously shoveling it up with some Upma. And even though that spoonful seemed to be mostly chutney, I took myself a bite anyway. And holy Hanuman, those little legumes they had on the top of that chutney were rock hard. I definitely was not expecting that. I think I damn near chipped a tooth on that chutney. Otherwise, it pretty much tasted like your standard non-sweet coconut chutney. And as for this next bite, I think we got some sambar over here, but I never had a sambar like that before. It's real sweet, baby cakes. As sweet as the morning dew on a dick, and if that is sambar, it's pretty unique, and I guess it must be some kind of Telangana thing. I mean, usually it's more like a spicy vegetable stew, whereas this is more like a sweet vegetable stew, if that makes any sense. Actually, I think it goes pretty well with the Upma while sweet. Anyway, I figured I'd move on from that sambar and go to the next chutney. No more beating around the bush, baby. It's time to chutney up, so I got myself a nice bite on deck. We got about 1 part Upma to 1 part chutney, and I feverishly jammed that spoon toward my head. Now I gotta be honest, this chutney right here had a little bit less flavor than the previous chutneys. I think it might have been some chickpea flour chutney, but I don't know the exact details. At any rate, I decided to move on with my life, and I chose to move on to the next exciting chutney in the lineup. Now that spoonful looks like it's about 2 parts chutney to 1 part Upma, and even I got to admit that's a nice fucking ratio right there. Now right about now you're probably wondering, how did that chutney taste? Well, let me break it down for you, sweetie buns. It tasted like your standard run-of-the-mill green chili and mint chutney. It was enough to induce mild arousal, nothing more and nothing less. So with that said, I figured I'd move on to the final chutney. This one was rocking a deep red hue, so I mixed it up a little bit with that Upma, then I got myself a spoonful and I jammed it toward my mouth. And it was tasting kinda fruity and a little less sweet than I expected. Nevertheless, that was a decent chutney right there. So after careful consideration of this Upma and the accompanying chutneys, I came to the realization that this was pretty good. Just how good, you ask? I'd say it was a 5 out of 5 Maharaja dogs good. I mean, the quality of that Upma itself was simply incredible, but with all that chutney added to the mix, I felt like all those innocent plants most definitely did not die in vain. So next up, I moved on to one of my go-to Indian foods, a little thing called Paneer Butter Masala. Just why do I like Paneer Butter Masala so much? It's kinda hard to say. I think it starts with that paneer itself, aka unaged Indian cheese. That paneer is consistently good in India, it's kinda hard to get a bad one. Compare that to a meat like chicken, which is less consistently good, and usually I tend to go for the paneer, baby. On the other hand, the butter masala sauce itself does vary from restaurant to restaurant and from region to region. Sometimes it's more buttery, sometimes it's more creamy, sometimes it's more spicy, and sometimes it's more tomatoey. But I don't think I've ever had a bad one. It's almost always delish and swadished. I guess that's why I love it so much. Anyway, aside from that paneer butter masala, I also got some Pudina Paratha, aka mint Paratha. So I personed up and ripped off a piece of that Paratha one-handed, then I started putting some paneer on there. What can I say? I was getting serious about life over here, and I started wrapping that Paratha up. That bread was a little bit more stiff and crispy than I expected, but I eventually succeeded in wrapping it up, and then I took myself a bite. And wow, just fucking wow, that paneer itself was creamy and firm. That masala sauce was tomatoey and subtle, and that paratha was minty to the max. Truth be told, it was tasting like a sick-ass motherfucking buck-wild flavor combo to say the least. In fact, that food was filling me with a boundless sense of optimism, and truth be told, I was feeling moderately aroused over here. So next up, I moved on to that Paneer Kulcha. Now, I never did have a kulcha before, so I was expecting that paneer to be on top, but it was actually baked inside. Mind you, that kulcha was pretty soft, and I was having a hard time ripping it with one hand. Nevertheless, I personed up and did just that. Oh, I personed up, don't you worry about that, sweet tits. And next I started to wrap that huge-ass chunk of paneer in the Paneer Kulcha. And after admiring it for a second, I figured I might as well slam it down the hatch. and as soon as I chomped down on that kulcha paneer combo, I was both stupefied and stunned. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really expect to be able to taste the paneer that was baked inside that kulcha. But man, oh man, I was wrong. You can taste that cheese for days. Basically what you got here is a finely cooked chunk of cheese coated with some rich tomatoey flavored sauce and covered with some bread infused with more cheese. I mean, that paneer butter masala by itself was pretty damn good, but along with that Pudina Paratha and that paneer kulcha, let's just say that those flavor combos were tasting so swadished that I most definitely must rate them a 5 out of 5 Maharaja dogs. In fact, it was tasting so damn good that it ignited some kind of feeding frenzy deep within me. I stopped ripping off individual pieces of that bread and I just started wrapping the whole thing with paneer. And before I knew it, I had cleared through that mighty fine meal at life-threatening speeds. Now I figured I not only needed a dessert, but also deserved one, so I got myself some Gulab Jamun with ice cream. After all, I am in fact worth it, and don't think for a New Delhi nanosecond that I'm not. So I spooned up a little ice cream and took myself a pensive bite. Then I split that jamun in half and all kinds of sugar syrup went flying out of that thing. Wow, take a look at that puppy. Basically, it's made from paneer and flour that's mixed together into balls, fried up, and then soaked in some cardamom sugar syrup. Now I have had these before, and they're pretty sweet, but I thought that maybe, just maybe, they would be swadished with a little bit of ice cream on the side. So I took myself a bite, and sure enough, it was pretty swadished, come to think of it. I think I'd still have to rate it a 4 out of 5 Maharaja dogs, because that jamun was still just a tad too sweet for my liking. But nevertheless, that was a decent dessert right there. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see even more swadished food, then you best be checking out my previous Indian food tours. I got a video on some delish Ramadan foods, just to name a few, and I got that link in the description box. So don't forget to subscribe for all your dreams to come true, and as always, thanks for watching this video. Why don't you leave a comment, let me know what you think.